If you told me 7-time world champion Sir Lewis Hamilton was battling 4-time world champion Max Verstappen for P11, I would have admitted you to Bellevue. Welcome to the Hungarian GP race analysis and discussion. You're getting collared shirt, Ashley, because I had a job interview. I was too lazy to change. Look, it's wild to me every single weekend there's some kind of outrage or discourse or something, and that's probably the algorithm just pushing clickbait and engagement. So I need to find my long-winded talkers and my discussion enthusiasts. First, you obviously have to talk about McLaren. They had an incredible weekend, and it makes sense while they're leading constructors by so many points. Some facts for you: McLaren scored their 4th consecutive 1-2 finish, only for the 2nd time in their history, a feat they previously achieved with Prost and Senna in 1988. McLaren won their 200th World Championship Grand Prix here, making them the only second team to do so in F1 history after Ferrari, and Norris's 1.9-second pit stop was provisionally the fastest pit stop of 2025 season to date. I mean, broad strokes, an incredible weekend, like I said, but then people got a little confused, and there's some conspiracy theories about the strategy that played off between Oscar Piastri and Lando Norris. So let's really dive into it, because there's nothing nefarious here. McLaren did not intend for Lando Norris to do a one-stop strategy. They didn't think it would actually be possible according to their pre-race, and they really thought Oscar Piastri's 2-stop would be the most dominant strategy for them today. Today, like it's Sunday. I meant on Sunday. Do you remember on the race start where Norris attempted to pass his teammate in turn 1 and forgot there were 18 other drivers? He backed off and then got passed by Alonso and Russell, and he ended up P5. Norris passed Alonso, but was stuck with behind Russell. Initially, McLaren was going to pit Norris early, but decided to extend his stint. And once he got into clean air, and once the Piastri thing, which we'll talk about in a second, he was putting up incredible lap times, and he was doing really well with the tire degradation. Now again, while Norris was dealing with all of that, Piastri was only focused on Charles Leclerc. We had blinders on. We did not think Norris was in the game. Piastri missed really any chance of a one-stop due to him pitting early because of Charles Leclerc. They also did ask Oscar about potentially doing a one-stop, but he said he wasn't sure because there were so many laps left of the race. The other key decision McLaren made was pitting Piastri the second time. Knowing that the second stop would definitely guarantee Piastri behind Norris, they talked on the radio about it. They were then trying to give him enough tire offset to catch up to his teammate at the end. Close to the end of the race, lap 69, Piastri tried to overtake, locked up, lost some momentum, and was unable to overtake Lando Norris. And this played out in front of us, and they had the radios broadcasted. I'm not sure why people think this is some like evil kind of nefarious situation that McLaren is trying to screw over Oscar Piastri. And I appreciated the post-race driver press conference, which I'm pretty sure you can watch on F1 TV, and this is what Oscar Piastri had to say. Pretty fun race, all things considered. We tried our best, I think. We got ahead of Charles, and some things to look back on, but very easy to say in hindsight. They asked Piastri, given the tire offset, how comfortable are you chasing down Lando Norris and potentially overtaking? He said, I was confident, but I knew it was still going to be incredibly tough. Getting close is one thing, but trying to overtake is a completely different story. I knew I was catching him a lot in clean air, but once I got in close, it was terrible. But once I got close, it was incredibly tough to stay close enough, and there were so many corners in the middle sector, and with such long corners, it kills any downforce. If I had more laps, I'm not sure the result would have been any different. It's crazy that in the macro, obviously McLaren is crushing it. I'm sure Zach Brown, Andrea Stiller are exceedingly happy with a 1-2 and everyone back at the factory, but when we're looking at individual drivers in the micro, there's these little things, mistakes, etc. that cost these drivers these points, especially when the championship battle is so close. And I saw this comment on Threads. I'm not going to hide the name. I'm not trying to like make fun, but I think it's interesting that the conversation is really cyclical. Time is a flat circle. Constantly complains about Michael Schumacher dominance, then Vettel, then we had Lewis Hamilton, and then we had Max, and now we're complaining about McLaren dominance. I appreciate that in a world where things seem constantly changing, fan reactions will always stay the same. And like clockwork, causing more confusion and pain, Ferrari. God, I hope the summer break is good for Lewis Hamilton. He didn't make it out of Q2 by 0.015 seconds. And then after qualifying, when he was available to media, he said that he was useless and that Ferrari should get another driver, which is an insane juxtaposition to the beginning of the year where there was so much optimism. There was good news initially with Charles Leclerc on pole after qualifying. However, that quickly fell apart like tissues in a thunderstorm. After the first pit stop, he goes on the radio and says, yeah, I can feel what we discussed before the race. We need to discuss those things before doing those. Immediately, the tension is building. Look, my cat's also very upset about the Ferrari thing. And after the second pit stop, they air the second longest radio message known to Formula One fans. He says, this is so incredibly frustrating. We've lost all competitiveness. You just have to listen to me. I would have found a different way of managing those issues. Now it's just undrivable. Undrivable. It's a miracle if we finish on podium. And he was right. No angels in the outfield for him. He got passed by George Russell and then lost about like 10 to 15 seconds to George. And the thing is, we don't know what's wrong. Charles Charles Leclerc initially made it feel like a setup issue in a way, and they also manually changed his front wing during the second pit stop, so they're trying to regain some kind of front end balance. Russell said later that Ferrari might be close to illegal, which we discussed before because everyone's teetering on the edge of illegal, but Mercedes is assuming that they were running a really low ride height, and to avoid plank wear, they increased their tire pressure, and all of those variables come into play. There were also assumptions they were running on really low fuel, and that affected the car and the power unit. And also the new suspension they were boasting about, one of the cons was plank wear. The media asked Fred Vasseur after the race what's going on, and he basically gave a non-answer, saying that he doesn't know, and then he'll have to talk to Ferrari, and they'll discuss like he wasn't on the fucking pit wall. But the problem is, for me, is that we'll never know. And yeah, I know we do talk to team principals and media pens, or we force them in the room and talk to media, but they give such non-answers. And then we're all left assuming, and that goes back to all of us just making up theories because we don't know what happened. Charles Leclerc also said it was a chassis issue. Charles Leclerc said it might have been a chassis issue, but we don't know, and it could not be, actually. I hate to say it's not going to get any better. After summer shutdown, it's really time to focus on their new regs. Teams are running out of time and resources if they're trying to do anything for 2025. And then speaking of upgrades, or reversing their upgrades, Mercedes had a good weekend again. And I know it's going well when they barely show George Russell on television and they don't ask him any questions during the post-race press conference. I really have this theory that they don't show George Russell a lot, and I think I'm going to watch every single F1 race during this break and time manually the amount of times they show him and compared to everyone else. I think I'm on to something. Mercedes realized that their new suspension is causing more problems than solving them, so Toto Wolff said that upgrade is going into the bin. And in the garbage, it shall stay. Now, the media is claiming that Kimi Antonelli had some confidence crisis or he qualified P15 due to a lap time deletion, but he moved up to P10, gaining 5 positions, and he was crushing it. This is now the version of the W16 that him and George Russell will have for the rest of the season. And really quickly, it feels weird to say, but Aston Martin and Sauber had a really good week. The fact is, Aston Martin was the 4th fastest at the Hungaroring, believe it or not. Fernando Alonso says it was a very nice surprise, but admitted the concerning things that we don't know why. And I don't know if he's being his usual shithouse self or he genuinely doesn't know why. There was a revision to their front wing setup, and Alonso said that's incredible if it gave him that performance, but we need to understand why. But hey, they had a double-digit swing in the constructors, which is pretty large for them. And then, of course, for Sauber, Bortoleto has his first back-to-back points finish in Formula 1. This is his 3rd scoring Grand Prix out of 4 recent Grand Prix, which is fabulous for this rookie. And yeah, Nico Hülkenberg didn't have the best weekend, but it could have been a lot worse, and he actually gained a lot of positions. Not in the points, unfortunately, but I think Sauber's trending upwards. And if you'd like to remind me that I've been saying that Ferrari's trending upward, I didn't know they would explode, okay? And honestly, for the rest of everyone else, if you told me 7-time world champion Sir Lewis Hamilton was battling 4-time world champion Max Verstappen for P11, I would have admitted you to Bellevue. Verstappen is telling media that Red Bull have ideas of why the RB21 is so ass, but their new team principal is saying or suggesting that it's a one-off. And again, because of the summer shutdown and 2026 regs and everything, I don't really know how much better we're going to see Red Bull. Tsunoda was only a 1/10 slower than Verstappen for qualifying, which is pretty good, or bad because the car is shit. He then started from pit lane and then got front wing damage due to an incident with Hülkenberg. Bad weekend all around for Red Bull. And for Alpine, Pierre Gasly has made it exceedingly clear that he's given up on this season. He didn't make it at Q1. He only got up to P17 from P19 and of course had that penalty for his incident with Sainz. Colapinto had an early stop strategy that didn't do shit and he was exceedingly slow. And now that we're officially going into summer shutdown, nobody's working on anything. Folks leave their laptops at home except for the communications department because there might be silly season news with potential contract extensions or re-signings, etc. And I implore you, don't fall for any fake news from any news aggregate websites. Please wait till the F1 breaking graphic or the actual team itself. Now that it's been a year, hope you guys are enjoying your summer, and I will talk to you really soon.